Hello, my name is Michael Anthony Peroutka, and I am a Republican candidate for Anne Arundel County Council, District 5. I've been a resident of this county since 1993, and my family business has operated here in this county since 1991. And during this time, I have been a soccer coach and a softball coach and a homeowners association president. I've been a Sunday school teacher and co-founder of the Institute on the Constitution, teaching classes for the past 12 years on the United States Constitution and the Maryland Constitution. Now let me tell you why I am asking for your vote and for your support, and why I would like to serve you as your District 5 County Councilman. I never thought about running for a seat on the Anne Arundel County Council until I actually attended in person several County Council meetings. And what I saw was disappointing and alarming. And in the case of District 5 incumbent Mr. Dick Ladd, what I saw was a gentleman who seems completely unaware of the American view of law and government. You see, there is a distinctively American view of government, and this view is true at all levels of government, national, state, and county. The American view is set forth in the Declaration of Independence, and its principles are embedded in the Constitution of these United States and the state of Maryland and the county of Anne Arundel. The American view can be summarized like this. 1, there is an almighty creator God. 2, our rights come from him. And 3, the purpose of civil government at all levels, county, state, and federal, is to protect and defend those God-given rights. Now, in fact, 3 words uttered by Mr. Ladd when he voted for the so-called rain tax, 3 words, compelled me to decide that I must run for the seat he holds on the county council. Here's what Mr. Ladd said on, of all days, income tax deadline day, April 15th, 2013. He said these 3 words when he voted for the rain tax.
Mr. Ladd?
Aye, with pleasure.
Now, did you hear those 3 words? They were aye, meaning Mr. Ladd voted for the rain tax, and the next 2 words were, amazingly, with pleasure, which means it pleased Mr. Ladd to vote for this multi-billion-dollar tax, which Councilman Jerry Walker said is, and I am quoting him, the single largest tax in county charter government history. To his credit, Mr. Walker voted against the rain tax, but Mr. Ladd voted for the rain tax with pleasure. Remember the property tax cap? The property tax cap was a promise to the property owners of the county that the limits on the property tax would be maintained. Now, the chief operating officer of the county government repeatedly testified before the county council in Mr. Ladd's presence that the rain tax would be a means of doing an end run around the property tax cap, and that this was a good thing. Well, Mr. Ladd apparently agreed with that testimony and broke the promise of the property tax cap by voting for the rain tax with pleasure. Well, this multi-billion-dollar rain tax Mr. Ladd was pleased to vote for does not please me. This tax is an illegal, unauthorized tax forced on the state of Maryland by a federal agency, the EPA, that is itself illegal and unauthorized. And then, to make matters worse, the state of Maryland tries to force the rain tax on our county, which it pleases Mr. Ladd to vote for. All across this country, governments at all levels are bankrupt, trillions of dollars in debt. Do you realize that in Anne Arundel County, the operating budget this year has grown to $1.3 billion? Now that equates to about $10,000 for a family of 4. How do you imagine they plan to raise that money? Since they cannot print money like the feds do, they are going to have to get it from us, the taxpayers. Now, why does this runaway spending go on? Because most elected officials, including the incumbent, Mr. Dick Ladd, seem to pay no attention to what government is authorized to do. Elected officials like Mr. Ladd treat our hard-earned dollars and our real and personal property as their own personal piggy banks to finance projects they like personally or projects they think might get them votes from some special interest groups. But their failure to understand the American view of law and government is why so much government today is lawless and even criminal, taxing us to death, and even after death. During the last 4 years, we have seen bigger county government, increased regulation, and increased taxation. Now, this is not Republican government, and I hope this is not what you want from your Republican candidate. I said earlier that most elected officials today treat our hard-earned tax dollars as their own personal piggy banks. Well, I promise you, I will never do that. The United States Constitution and the Maryland Constitution and the county charter are the contract that we have with our governments. I promise that when I take an oath before God to follow and to defend them, I will do that. I ask for your support and for your vote, and I must ask you to commit to casting your vote in the June 24th primary election for Michael Anthony Peroutka. And I thank you.
This message was produced by authority of Friends of Michael Anthony Peroutka, Thomas A. Pavlinick, Esquire, Treasurer.